Today's show, you want to see how predictive programming works, or you want to call it sigil magic? Because remember, they orchestrate these types of events and rituals and they prepare people for them. And that's exactly what this is, because if it's not, then it's just a lot of really dumb people thinking they're making a difference. But of course, government organizations are the ones who start these things and then they promote it around town on the on the news, in social media, or I shouldn't say on social media. And then people, of course, like they always do, monkey see, monkey do, as we see in our society, nothing but a bunch of sheep, or zombies, we'll just call them. And how about this one, prepping people for what's going to come, but telling people this is a good thing to do, apparently, to send a message to the power companies. The big power switch off, right in your faces, ladies and gentlemen, is occurring as we speak in the UK. What are people doing? Well, people are protesting against the rising costs of electricity and power. Now, of course, I understand electricity is high, all bills, everything with inflation is high. Turning off your power and doing anything like that would never make the power companies lower how much they're charging people. Okay? They're raising the prices on everything to drive people into poverty, to drive people out of their homes, out of their apartments. And guess where it's going to drive them to? A conveniently located government facility like a FEMA camp at some point, or a quote-unquote shelter like we've seen with the homeless shelters, which have now turned into homeless camps, which is pretty much right out of FEMA, because it looks just like a FEMA camp, just they're tents and they're calling them homeless camps. So they raised the prices, like I've been saying, on everything. And it's not just to make people mad, it's to price people out of the market and to destroy the economy, because again, they have to reset it. So something like this, where there's rising energy costs, the people are saying, we're going to protest back against the energy companies and we're going to turn off our power. How convenient that millions, or I should say thousands of people in the UK, hundreds of thousands, will be turning off their lights in unison for 10 minutes. Now, of course, people like us, Christians who are aware of the occult, of course, you could look at this and say it's some type of a ritual, whoever started it, whoever planned this. Because, again, not a regular person isn't starting this and planning this, and then everybody's going to copy and do it and comply. They get this stuff, they pump it through social media, the people see it over and over again, they see the patterns, they see the repetition, they jump on board, and they think they're doing something that's actually going to help the cause. When in reality, this is preparing people for what's to come. And it's coming at some point. This is preparing them to get ready for a great power outage. Or what is this called exactly? What is the big power switch off? I mean, The goal of the switch off is simple. It wants to pressure the government. That's funny. And energy companies reverse the recent crippling rise in energy costs. Well, it's a little too late to try and pressure the government now that they've completely turned on the civilians or the humans of the world and have no plans to stop. And something like this, of course, is going to do nothing. In April 2022, the energy market regulator raised the price cap for energy costs by a staggering 54%, affecting 22 million homes across the UK. And we're seeing that across the board. A lot of people just paying their taxes, in America and around the world. I've heard a lot of people on the website, I've heard a lot of people on YouTube have mentioned the price of their property taxes. They're like, my property tax is 50% higher than it was last year. Well, guess why that is? Because they're trying to push everyone off of their properties, off of their land specifically, because that, as much as we all think that we're going to be able to get off grid and do stuff like that, they already have a plan in place. It's not like they haven't thought of, hey, what about these people who are going to get off grid? I mean, they already know how the Amish live and things like that. They're not going to allow people to exist in this new society unless they comply, as we know, and of course take the mark. So you're seeing a massive rise in energy prices on purpose. What are they blaming that on? War? Okay. What does that have to do with it? Just like gasoline, just like wheat, just like every single thing. You probably just noticed, that's the thing. It's like they do it subtly, right? It's not like, when people see this stuff, you see like the liberals, they roll their eyes like, big deal, it's 20 cents, it's 50 cents. Well, that's how it works. They just do it across the board. And then they start putting less food in the products you buy. So now you're buying food for more money and getting less back. So they're prepping you in so many different ways, right? They're prepping you to be prepared to eat less food, But on top of that, they're doing this in a sense where people aren't noticing that they're going broke and losing their money. But when they start to look month over month, year over year, when they start actually looking at their finances, especially this time next year, if something hasn't gone down by then, they'll notice a massive decrease in what they have in their savings accounts. And they'll say, really? Is it gas? No, they did it across the board. The media is only talking about gas. They're not talking about stuff at the grocery as much as they normally do because it's insane, some of the prices. But I mean, you should see some of the, the energy bill and the property tax, again, is a huge thing. It's a huge thing knowing how high people's property taxes are quietly going. It just tells you they're trying to price people out because they want people to get priced out of where they live so they could shove them in their smart cities and their, these places that they have planned for after they reset this stuff. With their, universal income, you'll have a cubicle-like apartment if you survive it. You'll be running on, their portions that they feed you and their portions of electricity that they allow you to use. I mean, it's unbelievable. And look, you want to look at this and say, well, people are doing this, protest, and, protest is good. You can't tell me that somebody naturally or organically started this. This is probably them. They started it. And they're telling people through Sigil Magic, hey, we're going to do a blackout every couple weeks because this isn't the first week they've done it, right? And so this is Saturday, April 16th at 7 p.m. in the UK. Plans are already in place to make the process a weekly event with each lasting 10 minutes at a time each week, right? And then what? A month from now, an hour? And again, this isn't just to prepare people for a grid shutdown and a blackout. It's also preparing people for the future because remember, the stuff with climate change and efficient energy and stuff, they're going to make and tell people to do this stuff. They're going to be like, you know what, Saturday, there's no electricity, stuff. I mean, they are just taking control of everyone's lives full on. They want control of everyone all the way to the point where they want to know what you're thinking and what's in your mind. And people don't believe it because they're like, who would be that sick? I don't know. People who worship Satan, you see the stuff or have you read the stuff they do in these rituals? Yeah. Try reading the Bible. See how sick and prideful Satan is. So the event organizer, Karen Brady, right? Karen Brady, a.k.a. John Doe, a.k.a. George Glass, wrote on Twitter, next big Power Off 2 will be earlier at 7 p.m. Saturday, the 16th of April. I mean, what's the difference between shutting it off for 10 minutes because you think they're going to make less money back, right? I mean, maybe like go solar. I mean, there's so, I mean, it's just some of this stuff, man. I mean, this is prep beyond prep, to be real. I'm surprised, the most they probably can do is 10 minutes. Like, I can't do longer than 10. I mean, if you really want to make a difference as far as, saving money, because really all you're going to end up trying to do is save money. So, is just shut your electricity off for good. Then you'll really be sticking it to these people. 10 minutes? I don't know about that. So RT, retweet and share all on social media platforms. Thanks to everyone involved. And people are doing it like monkey see, monkey do. They're tweeting all this stuff out. Solidarity in numbers, enough is enough. The protest is not dissimilar to events recently witnessed in Spain. In the country, social media set up a silent revolution protest that was held on March 10th at 10 p.m. Much like the protest in the UK, the event lasted for 10 minutes, during which participants switched off all power in their homes. I'm sure we'll see this in America. Maybe they'll say it has something to do with climate change, or maybe people will. I mean, all these things are controlled events. When it starts in one country, it spreads around. We see this over and over again, and then they watch and study if people respond, how they respond, and they laugh. And they go, wow, these people actually think they could make a difference that's shutting their power off for 10 minutes? Go on, right? The people, of course, who follow what they already want them to do, which is to do what they're telling you, to turn the power off for 10 minutes. I mean, it's incredible if people don't realize why the prices of everything are going up. And they even admit, like, oh, it's Russia. And they go, yeah, even some of the mainstream media, like, I don't understand how Russia, how it would affect it. Because it doesn't affect it. But they only tell you that part of it because they want to play into the paradigm of the left-right. In other countries, they'll flat out just tell you it's Russia, it's war. We're in the UK. We got to just, bind through it. We got to grind, everyone. This happened in World War II. They just give you this spew of garbage that they do over and over and over again. And everyone eats it up. If the civilians really wanted to make a difference, they would first of all, they would start participating in their governments, all of them. Right? And how do you do that? Well, think about it. What was the most recent thing that occurred in America on the calendar? Certain day that you're supposed to do a certain something. Well, if everyone in the country stopped doing it, Probably send a pretty big message because you can't throw every single person in the country into it, but that would never happen, right? There's a lot of things you could do to not comply, but people still comply, and they've made people dependent on them because they've made people dependent on technology. They've made a lot of people dependent on government handouts, right? That's the whole point of government handouts. They've never cared. They've never given people, benefits financially because they care. They want people to be dependent on the hand-me-outs because this all ends with them doing what will be considered hand-me-outs, very minimal hand-me-outs for these people who scream inequality because they don't know how to take care of themselves or get a job or anything else because they sit around on their phone and they blame everyone in the world. Oh, it's not fair. I did this. I went to school. Oh, well, then no one said you just go to college or anything like that and you get a job. Maybe you shouldn't have went. Maybe you should have thought it through before you went. Like you should have said, hey, if I go to college, is there a guaranteed job at a company for an income at the end? It's like, well, we can't guarantee it, but you'll get a job. Oh, but what about when everyone in the country ends up going? So you're on an even playing field again, which they preach inequality, but it's supposedly, it sounds pretty equal then, right? I mean, the whole thing is just an absolute utter disaster. And things like this where, people should really be seeing what's going on and saying, why are energy prices up? Why are all these prices popping through the roof? Because everybody should know in their gut it's not because of this Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine is a zit on them. I mean, really, give me a break. And then, what is it, the size of Texas? I mean, they're like, oh man, it's causing the whole world to collapse. No, they're deliberately collapsing the whole world, and it's going to continue and drag on. And people are just going to suddenly wake up and be like, I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my rent because suddenly my rent went from $500 a month to $2,000 a month. Or suddenly my grocery bill, which was $100 a week, went to $300 a week. And suddenly I can't eat. And suddenly, because your government's doing it to you and they're going to force you into their containment camps and everything else that they have planned for our society. So anyway, I wanted to do a rant about that. I thought it was ridiculous seeing that we have the big switch turn off. And everybody's on board, making a difference, in their minds at least, making a difference. You want to make a difference? Well, there's better things you can come up with, I think, than turning your power off for 10 minutes. But these are the types of things that they've also created through social engineering.